As a series with 6 mainline titles, the Skylanders franchise has a bunch of boss battles. Some good, some bad, but a lot of really fun ones. So in this video, I'm going to be giving my favorite boss battle from each game. Obviously, this is going to be my own opinion, but it is based off a bunch of stuff that I think everyone can agree makes a boss battle fun, such as stuff like platforming or difficulty or uniqueness in the battle, or being able to beat it with a close or long range counter, just being an accessible boss battle overall. So that's the criteria for this video. But without further ado, let's get into the first one with Spyro's Adventure. One more thing I do want to mention before we get into the video is the level that comes before the boss battle is not going to matter. So the level can be amazing, and if the boss fight's really bad, it doesn't matter. It's not going to be on this list if the boss battle is bad. Also, the design and personality of the boss is definitely going to influence where they land in this ranking. Spyro's Adventure, being the first game in the series, does not have as much variety of bosses as some of the later games do. This is made very clear by the repetitive chaos boss battles, which I'm actually not going to be picking for this. This one, I'm going to pick the Stone Golem, simply because it's a fun and pretty simple boss battle, but I think everyone can have a good time with it. He doesn't have anything too complex, and most of his moves are very predictable, basically because the game tells you where his attacks are going to land and stuff, but it's fun. Playing through it isn't anything too crazy, and as a somewhat early to mid-game boss battle, there's not really a clear difficulty spike or anything, and you can definitely beat it with any Skylander, and it's just a fun time. Not to mention, I think this boss battle has a pretty cool design. This guy looks pretty cool, which makes him fun to fight against. I want a boss to look menacing, but also something like this. I'm okay if it looks kind of goofy and just a little bit cool and a little bit more out there. But this boss battle is pretty fun overall, and I think it very well fits what you want with SSA, which is a game that isn't too difficult, that anyone can have a good time with. So this boss battle is going to be my favorite from SSA. Getting to Giants is where the boss battles start to get really good, and there's a lot more variety and diversity as far as the bosses. This is where you get the boss battle Chompy Mage, which a lot of people love, and obviously he comes back later in the series. But for this game, Skylanders Giants, I think the choice is pretty clear. It's got to be Drill X. Drill X is super cool, and it's a fun boss battle. Part of the reason it's so fun is because he's rapping the whole time. He just has a super cool personality that's awesome to fight against, and he's menacing. He's this giant robot who's trying to smash you to pieces with his massive drills. It is awesome. He goes through multiple stages. None of them are too difficult, and they're all pretty fun, and you can pretty much beat him with any Skylander. You aren't really hindered based on whether you have a close range or long range counter, which I can always respect. And it's just a cool design and a really cool atmosphere. You're like up at the top of this oil rig where he comes up and he just tries to like obliterate you, and as you move from phase to phase, he's rapping, and then eventually, he falls, crashes all the way down, and you just feel that feeling of success, as even when he's going down, he's rapping. It's super cool, and it makes sense why this is one of the most beloved boss battles in the series, and I think this perfectly encapsulates why people love Skylanders Giants as much as they do. Moving on to Swap Force, there are some decent boss fights here and there, but I really don't think any of them stand out quite as much as Mesmerelda. Mesmerelda sings like Drillex, but it's much more of like a professional singing and less of like a rap, which I can appreciate. I think it's actually really cool when she kind of sings. She has like it's like almost like a choir, like a chorus going on, and it is pretty cool to watch. Obviously, it's super copyrighted, so if I put it in the video, it would kind of ruin everything, but it is very cool nonetheless. And then the actual boss fight, I think, is really cool. I think it's done pretty well. It's a pretty fairly fun boss fight with increasingly difficult, like, I guess, platforming and just dodging enemies as the fight goes on. And it does have a unique factor where you're going to try to shoot these stage lights that sort of blind her and make her vulnerable. I really like that gimmick. I think that's a fun way of doing the boss fight and set her up to be able to take damage, which I can really appreciate. I appreciate uniqueness in boss battles, so this is cool. Not to mention that she does have a really cool design, and the entire level sort of hyping her up. Like, as you go through the level, you are just sort of aware of her presence and know that she's going to be there. And she has 4 arms, and she's purple, and it's just cool. She's a cool design, and a lot of people think she should have been the Magic Doom Raider because she's so good. But as far as Swap Force, she is definitely the standout boss battle in that game, and I can really understand why most people think she is the best one in that game, as I definitely agree. Now we get to Trap Team, and this is where it gets really interesting because this game is absolutely flooded with tons of cool boss battles. But really, I think one stands above all the rest, and that is Golden Queen. Golden Queen's boss battle, I think, is just perfected. All the phases feel unique and somewhat fun in their own ways. Not to mention that the entire game is building up to this moment, which is really cool. You'd think this is really going to be the final boss battle, and even if it was, it would probably still work. The final phase of it is really cool, as it has you going down this entire staircase that you also had to walk up at the beginning. Golden Queen switches between 2 main forms, where she's in her normal, I'd say, human type form, and then when she turns gigantic and she's like sort of coming out of this massive pool of gold, it it is super cinematic and really cool. She's also just menacing. Like, the whole time she wants to like freeze you to solid gold, and she uses a bunch of attacks that kind of do that. She also summons a lot of attacks that are pretty difficult to dodge and offer a pretty decent challenge, but they aren't anything too crazy, especially depending on the Skylander you use. And honestly, the Skylander you use, whether it's ranged or close range, doesn't really matter too much in this situation, as just doing high damage is what's very important, and being able to dodge effectively, which I also really like about this boss battle. I feel like it almost perfects everything, and it's just very fun overall. So Golden Queen has got to be the best boss battle from Skylanders Trap Team, despite Wolfgang and Traptanium Chaos and Chef Pepperjack and all these other ones obviously being amazing. Still, I think Golden Queen manages to come on top pretty much every time. For superchargers, there's no shot I'm going to pick a boss battle in a vehicle. And because there aren't too many land-based ones where you're actually playing normal Skylanders gameplay, the Chaos boss battle is actually going to win. Chaos in superchargers, I still think, is a fun fight. A lot of people don't really talk about this one because they think it's not that good of a fight. Compared to Traptanium Chaos, there's not really much going on. But I think if you look at this fight compared to all the bosses in the Skylanders series as a whole, this one is definitely in the top like 10% of all bosses. This fight is so fun. I don't get why people don't like it. I think they think it's too easy or something, but I can appreciate a nice, easy boss fight every once in a while, especially when it's like this, where there's still some challenge, but it's just fun. It's fun to fight Chaos here. It's an absolute blast. I like the platforming. It's good. I like the attacks he uses that you have to dodge, where he clones himself, and then there's like 6 different Chaoses. Everything seems to work with this boss fight, which I can really appreciate. Obviously, it should have been the last battle in the game. I know that Darkness would have been super. It's obviously super cool to have as the last one, but the fact that they made it a vehicle boss fight completely ruined the entire thing. So Chaos is honestly going to be the best one in Supercharged. I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but compared to the other few actual boss battles that we got that weren't in a vehicle, such as Spell Slamzer, there isn't really too much going on, and so Chaos, I think, is the clear winner for this game. As this boss fight, I do always enjoy playing through it, because for a Chaos fight, it's not too difficult, it's just fun, which I really like. Now, looking at Imaginators, despite having a bunch of different boss battles, I think this game definitely went with the quantity over quality approach to boss battles, as a lot of them are pretty basic and pretty similar, just using the basic classes as what defines the boss. But as far as the best one goes, it's got to be the Quick Shot. The Quick Shot does offer a decent challenge. It's a fun challenge that I could appreciate, and this one's pretty well known for being the most difficult by far. I mean, it's easy if you're doing a lock to lose a couple Skylanders here. Pretty much happens every time. But I think the difficulty is decent, and it works well. I think his variety of different moves, it makes it pretty fun to platform through, and it feels rewarding when you finally beat him. Obviously, design is really nothing special. It's just one of Chaos's classic minion Doomlanders that doesn't really do anything to stand out, but it's fun. I think a lot of people like this boss battle, and I think it does wrap up one of the better levels in Imaginators, so I can really appreciate it. I feel like it is more difficult than the Chaos boss battle in this game, and is definitely more difficult than every other Doom Raider or Doomlander in this game, my bad. So the Quick Shot Doomlander is definitely going to be the most difficult and my favorite boss battle from Skylanders Imaginators. Alright, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys do enjoy this video. It was pretty fun to make, and it was pretty fun to see my favorite boss battle from each game. I think a lot of people will probably agree for the most part with my picks. This is mainly based on what they are in hard mode, so I don't know if they're going to be any weird differences or not between hard and nightmare mode. I'm not totally sure, but these are just my opinions. Don't flame me for it. I know there's a bunch of bosses that I left out, like Chompy Mage from Giants and the Chaos boss battles from SSA. And a couple others, Baron Von Shellshock from Swap Force, I know Wolfgang from Trap Team, Spell Slamzer from Superchargers. All those people might complain about. I'm not totally sure though. But for the most part, these are my favorites. These are just my picks. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye, everybody.